Vice is the newest movie from Adam McKay, well known for a lot of comedies. A couple years ago, he directed The Big Short, which I really enjoyed. And this time, Vice is about Dick Cheney, the vice president to George W. Bush, and a bunch of other stuff that he's done. It's definitely kind of like a politically motivated biopic. It starts off with a line of text that says, "This is a true story. Well, you know, as best as we could do, because Dick Cheney's one of the most secretive people ever. We gave our best shot at trying to, you know, figure this all out." So I do like that they go up front and say, hey, you know, this is a true story, but we tried our best to find all the facts. And you could definitely tell this is, you know, got an agenda. It's definitely politically motivated. One of the things I didn't like about the movie is how kind of like scattershot and like kind of messy it is. Like it doesn't really know what part of Dick Cheney's life it wants to pick at. I mean, and sometimes it goes so over the top, you're like, okay, you're stretching it. But before I get into the positives and the negatives, basically it's the rise of power of Dick Cheney, the supposed most powerful vice president of all time, and it stars Christian Bale as Dick Cheney. You have Sam Rockwell as George W. Bush. Donald Rumsfeld is played by Steve Carell. Amy Adams plays Dick Cheney's wife. And there's a few other people in there, but those are the main four. And like I said, it's a biopic. It's the rise to power for Dick Cheney. Let's get into the positives first. Christian Bale is fantastic. It reminded me a lot of Gary Oldman kind of going into his role. Christian Bale, before long, you start to forget that that's Christian Bale in there and all that makeup and stuff and donning the fat suit. He kind of just becomes the man. That's because Christian Bale is one heck of an actor, and he will for sure get nominated for an Oscar for this. He's probably right now the front runner to win it. I'd say it's, you know, probably him and Bradley Cooper up there. But he was fantastic. I liked Steve Carell in this movie. And Sam Rockwell was great, even though he's not in it a whole lot. And he's, of course, playing an overtop version of George W. But the one I didn't like very much was kind of Amy Adams. Her makeup and stuff just didn't look very convincing. You could definitely tell it was there. And I just didn't really like her very much in this movie. I get what they were trying to go. It just does have a very House of Cards type feel to it sometimes. There are some really cool tricks that Adam McKay does, and it reminds you of things he did in The Big Short, where they break the fourth wall. They, you know, try and explain something complicated simply so the audience will know what's going on, and other little things. There's just one thing that happens in the middle of the movie that I'll admit it was really, really funny. But overall, that's probably most of my positives. Like I said, one of the negatives for me was it's kind of all over the place. It doesn't really know what it wants to pick here. It just wants to just paint Dick Cheney as this pretty much horrible person. There's one storyline they go with where I thought, okay, here's the one line storyline we're going to go with that, you know, he was protecting his daughters. But then at the end, they shoehorn in that he actually, you know, wasn't. And I mean, who knows if that's actually true? I mean, I don't know. It just feels like they were just like, we gotta trash this person. It kind of reminded me of the Leo movie, the Martin Scorsese movie. I can't think of the name right now, but you know what I'm talking about, where they just wanted to make him, you know, pure evil. There's some other things. There's this backstory of this one character who's kind of monologuing the whole movie. You find at the end of the movie what his whole deal is. I don't know about that. That was kind of weird. So overall, I didn't like it as much as The Big Short. One, I didn't think it was as funny. The material I don't think was as good. And like I said, it's a little kind of scattery. But there is some cool things in here. Christian Bale performance alone is probably worth checking out. It was definitely interesting learning about all this stuff. I didn't know anything about Dick Cheney. So even if this movie's, 50% true, which I'm going to imagine it's more than that, I learned a ton about the guy and some of the creepy stuff that he may have been involved in. And I enjoyed the movie. I like these kind of historical biopic kind of feature films. And I like Adam McKay's weird take on it where he's, kind of making almost a funny biopic. But anyways, I enjoyed it. It's not something I'm going to want to probably ever watch again. Christian Bale's performance was great. I'm going to give Vice a 3.5 out of 5. Until next time, this is Randy Cage. Peace out.